Hey there, welcome. Welcome to Rise and Receive. This is an opportunity in your day to stop whatever you're doing and take a moment or two or a few to explore how to receive fulfillment in your life by unlearning struggle. So today we're talking about tip number 2 to invite fulfilling relationships. And the title for today's Rise and Receive is Learn to Use Your GPS. So, what does that mean? Well, relationships are often something that at best is complex to navigate because there are no right answers. I know a lot of people often wish that they had a manual or a book. There's tons of books written on relationships in the pursuit of understanding how to navigate them. So I wanted to talk about at least a little bit of your GPS and one of the things that is most important, what I consider your North Star in navigating relationships, because the more you have clarity about how to navigate relationships and you have this North Star, you become a more effective, more inspired invitation for fulfillment in your relationships. So just think about a relationship in your life, whether it's personal, intimate, family, work, any type of relationship that you're having trouble navigating, that feels complex to you and you don't know which way to go. And as you let that be here, just let this message, kind of wash over you and see what nugget you can take away from this. So if you don't know me, my name is Sonia Miller. I'm a speaker, coach, and best-selling author, and I mentor ambitious, goal-oriented people to surpass their limits with ease and speed. And the way that I do this is I illuminate the behaviors and the blind spots that are unique to outcome-driven individuals. Because if there's one thing that I've learned over 20 plus years of coaching people who are ambitious and goal-oriented, and I count myself as one of those, is that outcome-driven people tend to be really skilled in the hunter skill set. So we're really good at pursuing our goals. We are less familiar, however, with receiving our goals, and receiving is its own skill. So then what happens is we know how to hunt, examine, figure out, research, and work hard in pursuit of our goals. But when we aren't receiving our goals or when we're hitting our upper limit, then what happens? We work even harder. We stay in pursuit mode, and that actually becomes the source of our upper limit, because the blind spot is we actually need a new skill. We need to learn how to stop all the hard work and receive our fulfillment instead. And we do that by tapping into what I call the being skills versus the doing skills of the hunter. And that's what we're going to talk about today regarding learning how to use your GPS as it relates to relationships. So I talked about how human doings or hunters really are good at pursuing, and human beings really are the ones who understand the skills of receiving. And so this is also about tapping into this fundamental concept. Your consciousness creates your reality. Your consciousness is the terrain of your inner world as a human being. The physical world of the 5 physical senses is the terrain of the human doing. Okay, so we think of cause and effect happening all out there. If I take this action, then I'll get this result. And that's just a part of the equation. But when you really understand what's happening in the inner terrain of consciousness, and you understand how your consciousness is the cause that precedes every effect, and you know how to harness and understand how consciousness is working, well, then you become able to surpass your limits. So this idea of your consciousness creates your reality, we're going to take this now and look at the GPS idea, how to navigate relationships. So if you're operating from the doing skills, your North Star, okay, if you think about being a hunter and how you navigate the job, the goal of catching the prize, okay, your North Star is going to be, if I can just figure it out, if I can figure out where the animal is, if I can figure out how to read the animal's tracks, if I'm really skilled at using my mind and observing the behaviors and then using my skills, if I can just figure it out, okay, it's all about problem solving, then you're going to be asking these questions. What's the problem? How do I fix it? What do I do? Okay, so when you're not sure how to navigate a relationship, you're going to be looking at it through the lens of problem solving. What's the problem here? How do I fix it? What do I do? Now, that's great if you're dealing with project management or tasks, or you have an outcome that you want to produce and you know what's required, and then you ask those questions. What's the problem? What's the solution? How do I fix it? What do I do? What's the timeline? What are the assets that I use? That's great in certain circumstances. But relationships are messy and they are not linear, and they have all this stuff happening in your inner world, like feelings and experiences and all sorts of things that are invisible to us that don't make any sense. So this is where your consciousness creates your reality comes in really handy if you know how to tap into that. When you are working or navigating as a human being in relationships, your North Star, and this now starts to connect us back to tip number 3, your North Star is know thyself. Know thyself. Now, knowing yourself, if it's something that you're curious about, if you're wired that way, if you're into personal growth and personal development, it's a little bit easier than if you're not really used to really turning within and getting curious about who am I? We tend to be very focused on the outer world if we're not sort of wired that way. I happen to be wired that way. I'm very passionate about personal growth and development and self-awareness and all of that stuff. So that's why I'm bringing you this lens. And so this tip here, excuse me, is really for those people who want to have relationships that are fulfilling. Okay, they are conscious, they are collaborative, they are creative. Now, there's many types of relationships out there that don't have to be this. Whether you're talking about the difference between romantic relationships and business relationships or family relationships, or, there's some types of relationships that are genuinely transactional in nature. It's kind of like, I wash your back, you wash mine, and we help each other out. And these deeper issues don't matter as much. But if you're interested in the deeper fulfillment of collaboration, of creativity, of intimacy, of partnership. And again, this can be personal or in business. You can have really conscious, creative, collaborative types of relationships. Then this is going to really help you. So the North Star is know thyself. So why does that help you navigate? Because the better you know yourself as your North Star, the clearer, the clarity that you'll have increases and improves in navigating relationships. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can experiment with and play with this idea of how do I know myself better? How do I get to know myself? So I'll tell you what they are and then I'll go a little bit deeper. Number 1 is start viewing yourself not as I'm this singular being. Sometimes it's, let's say you want a romantic relationship. I'm alone. Or it's me and them. Okay? This idea that you're this alone creature, this single separate entity, separate from all of life, separate from other people, is one way of viewing yourself. And instead, you're going to shift to, I got ahead of myself. But anyway, so the first one is start shifting from I'm alone, I'm an individual, to I'm in a relationship with myself. So that's the first one. Shift from I'm alone and singular to I'm in a relationship with myself. Number 2 is shift from trying to fix yourself as if there's something wrong, broken, or missing. Shift from fixing to nurturing yourself. And the third one is that when you're in a relationship, experiment with viewing resistance, like I'm feeling resistance, I'm having friction, I'm having a conflict here. See it as an opportunity. Resistance provides reflections. When you start to look at I'm resisting something here, what is it reflecting? So the top 3 ways that I'm talking about today to know yourself is shift from I'm alone to I'm in a relationship with myself. Number 2 is shift from fixing yourself to nurturing yourself. And number 3 is in relationship, resistance can provide reflections, mirror reflections of you. So let's go a little bit deeper. Alone versus relationship. So some of you have heard that many, many years ago. By the way, hi Suzanne, hi Susan, it's great to see you. Many years ago, I suffered with an eating disorder, bulimia. And what I've come to learn, and I have really come to really enjoy supporting people around food and body issues and health and wellness, is that bulimia and eating disorders and dieting and stuff, but especially eating disorders, have very little to do with food. They have everything to do with your feelings and your relationship with yourself. So as I started to heal this relationship, or this, I should say, this issue, this eating disorder, what I tended to do was, my behavior was I obsessed about food from morning till night. And then at the end of the day, I would eat and I'd stuff and basically escape. As I started to learn that this had little to do with food and it was much more about my feelings, one day I had this awareness that I was going to spend the evening differently than I used to, which was stuffing food, being miserable, and watching TV. It doesn't sound really pleasant. It was not, by the way. So anyway, this particular night, which was a life-changing experience, I knew that the evening was coming, and I said, tonight, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to spend time with this person. Her name is Sonia, and I'm going to get to know her. And so for the first time in maybe my whole life, but especially since this eating disorder was active, I sat on the couch. I didn't get any food. I didn't turn on the TV. I sat on the couch and I just got curious. I just was with myself. That became the beginning of all of my work of opening up to my feelings, of opening up to my intuition, of becoming an energy healer, a counselor, a coach, finding out that I didn't want to trade stocks and bonds anymore and I wanted to really pursue my life purpose just by getting curious about this person. But to see myself as I'm not alone. I actually have a relationship with myself. It just so happened that the relationship I had until that moment was unconscious, painful, scary, unfamiliar terrain. I didn't know, right? So through that curiosity, I started to attract and receive the guidance that I needed, and I started to get to know myself. Eckhart Tolle talks about it in The Power of Now, about the difference between the I and the me. So when you're in just me mode, me, you're just kind of unconscious and reacting through life. But when you have another perspective, I is observing me, or I am observing me or myself, that space between you just reacting to things and you being able to get curious is like, oh, isn't that interesting? I come home every night, I turn on the TV, I stuff myself with food, and then I'm miserable. I do my unhealthy thing. I wake up in the morning, it starts all over again. But now I could get curious about it. So as you get curious about yourself, as you become willing to have a relationship with yourself, and sidebar, in order to have fulfilling relationships with others, you must start to look at your relationship with yourself as your primary relationship. You are in a relationship for the rest of your life, a primary relationship with you. And you get to keep discovering more about yourself. Okay. That consciousness of I'm in a relationship helps a lot in dealing with lack around relationships, because instead of I don't have a relationship, I'm alone, your consciousness is, yeah, I'm in a primary relationship for the rest of my life with myself. And then you bring that to your relationships rather than trying to get that emptiness filled up by getting external relationships. Okay? So, relationship versus alone. Number 2 way to know thyself. So, one of the things that happens when you're in doing mode and you're looking at everything as a problem is everything about you is a problem if you're unfulfilled. So you feel sadness, it's a problem. I need to make it go away. You feel afraid, that's a problem. I need to fix this. I need to get over it. I need to conquer it. Okay. So back to that doing lens. Problem. What's the problem? How do I fix it? What do I do? So most of what's happening is you are so talk about that relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is one where in this relationship, you're broken. There's something missing. And you see pain and discomfort as a problem to get rid of. So if you have this kind of relationship with yourself, you can't really know yourself because there's all of these parts of yourself that you're saying, go away. You're not welcome here, right? So what's your consciousness? Go away. You're not welcome here. Only certain parts of you can have this relationship with me, which are the parts that feel good and the parts of you that I accept and that I don't judge. That consciousness in relationship with yourself is what you will see in your relationships. There will be parts of the relationships where you feel, okay, this part of me is okay to bring and I can let them see this part of me, but these other parts of me are unacceptable. It doesn't make for fulfilling relationships, does it? Right? Now, when you give up the idea that you have to fix yourself, and I invite you to say, you know what? I am not going to try to fix myself ever again. Now, you might not know all the ways that you do this because it's deeply ingrained, but now you're actually bringing your awareness and your relationship with yourself to a whole new level and replace it with, from now on, when there's fear, when there's pain, when there's something that confuses me, when there's something that's unfulfilling, I'm going to practice. I'm going to get curious about how do I nurture myself? Oh, hello, fear. Come on in. I'm not comfortable with you, but I'm going to let you be here. What do you need? Oh, hello, sadness. You don't have to go away. You're welcome here. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with you, but you know what? You don't have to go away. I see you. What do you need? Nurture. The more you welcome those parts of yourself that were unwelcome and you nurture them, you will know yourself. You will know yourself better. And as you know yourself better, again, that lends to clarity, your North Star in the relationship. So, number 3, when there's resistance in a relationship, okay, it can provide reflections. So there's this idea, what you resist persists. What you honor can transform. So let's say there's another person. I'm going to tell you a story that showed up for me in a leadership situation many years ago. So many years ago, I was in this women's organization and it was international. I had a regional position, was, I managed a lot of women and I managed a lot of leaders. And there was this one situation where I had to fire a woman that wasn't really fulfilling her job. And she was very, very powerful. And it was, like a really challenging situation. Now, most of the time I was pretty comfortable and confident with myself as a leader. And I really trusted myself. And there were other leaders that I could, sometimes give some challenging feedback to, and they felt, seen and respected and loved. And, it was really collaborative. But this one woman, right? Boy, I would lose my power around her. And I just really resisted her. And I'd have to have these conversations. And it was just like all of the power in my being would just drain out of my feet. I was so afraid of her. And I had some unofficial coaches, the women that I worked with, saying, how is this a reflection of something about you? Now, it's not always clear. The reflections are not always clear. But usually if there's something that you resist in another person, there's a reflection about something that you resist in yourself. And to me, this woman and I were nothing alike. Nothing alike. So I just couldn't see the reflection. I couldn't see it, blind spots, until somebody helped me see the reflection. She said, Sonia, this woman is a very powerful woman. And right now she's not doing well. She is hurting and she's causing a lot of chaos in her world. And that's why she can't be in this position right now. Okay. So I didn't see the reflection. She goes, you also are a powerful woman. And I think what scares you, I think what you resist is when you're doing well, you can light up the village. But when you're not doing well, you can cause some damage. I did not want to accept that about myself. That scared me, to think that I could hurt people. I was so powerful that I could actually hurt people or help people depending on my relationship to myself and my own pain and my own struggles. So I hope you're tracking with this, but that's what I'm saying here is when you resist something, you can point your finger at the other person and say, you, but you might be lost as to how to find your power and navigate that. But when you stop and say, okay, is there something reflected here that I can know myself better about, learn something about myself? It's a very powerful question. The answer may not always come directly, but that is a way to know yourself. So those are 3 ideas that can help you know yourself and to use that self-knowledge as your North Star. So how does it invite fulfilling relationships? Well, consciousness creates your reality. As you know yourself, as you accept yourself, as you nurture yourself, as you have opportunities to accept parts of yourself that you didn't accept before, like an aspect of my power that had a shadow side. As you welcome home these parts of yourself, you will have experiences of fulfillment, of relaxation, of greater peace. Your consciousness is one of more and more fulfillment. Fulfillment begets fulfillment. As you embody fulfillment in relationship with yourself, you become an invitation for fulfillment in your relationships. And that self-knowledge can then inform how you communicate in your relationships, the requests that you make, your sense of worthiness to actually ask for and receive more of what you want, the ability to be collaborative. Because as you accept more of yourself, other people who are with you are going to automatically feel that it's safe to be who they are, because that's your consciousness. So this tip, while it might have had a catchy, fun little title, Get to Know Your GPS, kind of went deeper, but it's super, super powerful. Your GPS is to know thyself and know that it's not something that you ever finish, okay? It's something for the rest of your life. But when you prioritize that, you become a more and more empowered invitation for fulfilling relationships. So that's our tip for today. Here is today's card to offer a little more inspiration from the Receive Oracle card deck, which, by the way, looks like this. You can get it on Amazon. This one says receive fulfillment. And here's your affirmation. You can take this off into your life, practice it. That invitation, that affirmation alone is going to be an invitation. It goes like this. I am willing to discover the joyful fulfillment of being my own safe haven. I am willing to discover the joyful fulfillment of being my own safe haven. As you become the most fulfilling, the safest place, I should say, the safest place in the world for you, more and more and more, as you be in a discovery process, you will know yourself. You'll have clarity. You'll be much more empowered to experience your own fulfillment and relationship with yourself, as well as to be an invitation for it in all of your relationships. So with that, I'd love to offer you a couple invitations and next steps if you'd like to learn more. If you haven't already, joined the Receive community here on Facebook. I'll include a link above or below. If you would like some next steps that are specially customized for you, I have a brand new free service. It's called showmenextsteps.com. Answer 5 questions. I'll make some recommendations for you based on your learning style, your topic of interest, and your budget. Everything from free to things that you can pay for and invest a little bit more in yourself with. And remember, you cannot receive what you most want if you don't know how to receive. I hope you like this. Please like and share. It helps me reach the people that I'm here to serve. Or go to YouTube, click on the subscribe button, and you'll be notified each time that I release a new video if you click on the notification bell. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you at the next Rise and Receive. Bye, everybody.